Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Manchester United 0. Hiring a Portuguese coach can have mixed success, as Wolves and Manchester United find out. They've gone from conceding 40 goals to having back-to-back clean sheet Wolves, and they've recorded their first home win over Manchester United in 5.5 years. Mark Donaldson, Luis Miguel Echegaray, Janusz Michallik with this one. What kind of performance did we see from Wolves today, Janusz? Was it one that matched the scoreline, or do they not care?
Oh, you're starting with Wolves. Good on you. Good on you. Bad things are happening in Manchester. I thought that's where you're going to go. No, look, I mean, it was good enough, right? I mean, you look at them, and as you've mentioned, Pereira comes in, 2 clean sheets, 2 wins. And, I don't know, even the one last week was against Leicester, 3-0 away. I don't know if you'd expected that, right? So I think it was just good enough because of what Manchester United had on offer. But obviously, a little bit of a rebirth under a new manager, just a couple of games, as opposed to Ruben Amorim, who I think we still like. Not sure if the players will, if this keeps up, and who hasn't done the job. But, fair play to Wolves. I think they've taken chances. They always looked more dangerous to me. That is for sure. More organized for me. And can't take anything away. I guess I've gotten used to this Manchester United. It's just, this is a bad team. We've been saying this about Manchester United consistently. This is not just a rebuild. This is going to take a total demolition of the squad from Ruben Amorim.
Where did this game change today, LME? Where was it won and lost? Because Bruno Fernandes was sent off for a second yellow card, and it was a first half that meandered along. Was it the second half? What happened today?
Yeah, I think the sending off clearly impacted the game. I mean, fair credit to Wolves. Vitor Pereira, as you began in your introduction, what he's done in these 2 matches. But you have to focus on the impacted sending off of Bruno Fernandes. Ruben Amorim wouldn't even look at him as he walked off. I mean, it was a really stupid way to be sent off, especially in that second yellow, because it was the beginning of the second half. There was no need to lunge and, inadvertently or directly stamp on somebody's foot because he knows he was in a booking. You needed to just begin the second half, especially away from home, at least composed. And then once you have 10 men, the blueprint goes out the window because now you really have to rely on what you have in front of you against, a Wolves side who, whether you want to call it a manager bounce or not, are determined, focused. I like what Vitor Pereira said in his press conference once joining, when he said he wants to just put all his players in the right places, guide them like a GPS, give them confidence. And that's kind of what you're seeing. And when you have 10 men, obviously the obstacle is going to be that much harder. So Bruno Fernandes' sending off became just a bigger reason for Wolves to keep on pushing. And the factor as well is look, there's some players here in this Wolves side, by the way, that I think Vitor Pereira, it's a good thing he's Portuguese and knows how to speak to both Portuguese and Brazilian stars because, there were some good performances here. Andre in the center midfield, their number 7, was wonderful. Was only 23 years old. Cunha, if they can keep him, because I bet you there's going to be some teams looking around in January, but if they can keep him, then it's going to be massive. Now, this is the last thing that I'll say before you turn it to our friend Janusz here. The Olímpico from Cunha, obviously a great Olímpico, but this is now the second time in a row United are conceding from an Olímpico. And today, I blame it on Andre Onana because he's being sandwiched by 2 players. They're not fouling him. They're just standing there, right? So you need to do more with your footwork. You need to be more of a voice in there because when you defend a corner, the number 1 voice you should hear is the goalkeeper. And I didn't hear anything but complaining from Onana. And then what happens? Cunha scores, and boom, there you have it. So Fernandes' red card was a big impact in the second half, but so many other errors that we have seen familiar with Manchester United continue to happen. So fair play to Wolves. You took care of it.
Yeah, you've touched upon the 2 main incidents in the game, probably the 2 only incidents in the game up until the second goal was scored in stoppage time. Because if we had to do a half-time report on that, it would have been 30 seconds long. It would have been a hi, bye, see you later. So in the second half, he's already been booked after 18 minutes, Bruno Fernandes. Does this kind of bigger picture signal a lack of leadership, a lack of discipline at the football club, Janusz, because that's a reckless challenge, and a reckless challenge by the letter of the law. Careless is a foul, reckless is a yellow, using excessive force / serious foul play is a red. That's a reckless challenge. It's needless. He knows he's already on a yellow. What does that tell us about him? What does it tell us about his mentality that he did this? And what does it tell us as a bigger picture about Manchester United as a whole, and the fact that this is their captain who's doing this and knowing pretty well that it's probably going to be a second yellow and he's going to leave his team with 10 men?
I think this is just a combination, not to excuse him, because, I mean, you know, that's not the first time, right? I mean, this is his third red card this season. Third.
Yeah.
In all competitions, right? So it's not just that, right? He is the captain. He needs to know better. And, we can go on and on. He knows he's got a yellow. I get that. It's a level of frustration. He frustrates all of us, right? Because his body language under different managers has not always been great. People have come out saying that he probably shouldn't be a captain. Maybe he's not, but I'll tell you this. He is still, for me, the best player, right? But the frustration of playing for such a big club like Manchester United that has been a mess for such a long time was for everyone to see. And even here, as I said, I still think that appointing Ruben Amorim was a good thing. I do see a different mindset when you rebuild from such a depths of disparity. I guess it's going to take time. There's no questions about that. Looking at the squad, as I've said, a demolition needed here. I still think Bruno Fernandes is by far the best player. If you give him players to play with, he's going to be absolutely fine. Just take a look at the games that he plays for Portugal. So should he have done better? Absolutely. Should we have an early chat about Ruben Amorim? Absolutely, because you know what? Even though it's such a short time, this is Manchester United, and you have to. I think you have to maintain a certain standard, right? Last two games, I mean, how can you lose to Bournemouth at home 3-0, right? How can you go to see new manager Wolves who are in relegation zone, and you pretty much easily lose the game? That second goal, okay, very late. You're pushing for equalizer, but still, I mean, if he's going to pick a bone with Rashford and Garnacho, look at the way Garnacho loses that ball, right? I'm sure that's going to leave a mental note. So yes and yes and yes to everything you guys said.
Being a best player, I don't think anyone can argue with that. But he'll not be their best player against Newcastle because you can't score from free kicks or whatever when you're suspended. That's the problem here, and that's the point I'm trying to make. And I get what Janusz is saying, but LME, it's not like this is something that hasn't happened before. And I know one of them, I think, was eventually overturned. One of the red cards deemed that it was a wrong decision. But he does have a history here. The malaise that has set in at the football club, and this isn't just picking on Bruno Fernandes, okay? This is the whole football club in general. How do you fix something like this? How do you have that mentality between hunger and just sheer stupidity when you go into a challenge knowing that you're on a yellow card here? Because he's a brilliant player. I love watching him, and neutrals love watching him as well. He can do anything with the football, but not when he's suspended. Is it just frustration, or is it more than that, LME?
No, it's more than that. There is a proverbial disease going around the culture of Manchester United. There just is. You can remove Ruben Amorim and put somebody else in, and the same issues will begin. And this is why the three of us have discussed this, that, yes, we can talk about the manager, but this whole squad needs to be relooked at. And because overall, the scouting of the personnel that you need to play for this club is now very, not just ordinary, but just there's this lack of, accountability. Ruben Amorim says no more, and we saluted when Marcus Rashford, is not showing enough. But then we see this happening from Bruno Fernandes. Amorim can't even look at him, and it's not the first installment. So I'm not even putting the blame on Amorim just yet. I'm just focusing on the fact that there is something much deeper here. Janusz said this is Manchester United, to the point where we'll have to remember the glorious moments of the past. But this is Manchester United, a very ordinary club who are closer to the relegation zone than they are to the top four. This is their reality. So, and also, what do you say when you hire a sporting director and then he leaves 5 or 6 months right after? There's so many things about this club that need fixing that it's going to take a long time. I was very optimistic, too optimistic in my predictions of of the first 11 matches Amorim, because I really thought that somebody like him would try and change it. But now I'm really realizing with my very open eyes here, more so than ever before, this club seriously needs a cultural change, and that takes longer than a few months or even a season or even two.
Okay. 11 minutes after the red card for Bruno Fernandes' second yellow, Wolves take the lead. And LME, Janusz has already described it. It's a corner kick that goes straight in by Matheus Cunha. I think that's 7 goals in his last 10 games or something like that. It's fantastic. However, it's another set play and it's another goal conceded by Manchester United. So they're clearly not learning, right? Whether it's been a free kick at Old Trafford and then the header from Huijsen, I think it was, that went into the back of the net. So what can be done here? Because as LME quite succinctly put it, Andre Onana's trying to move around, trying to get a bit of freedom or whatever. Where's the defenders? Where's the guys that are stopping the players like Doherty, who's on Onana here? Why doesn't the goalkeeper have not a case of protecting from the referee, protecting from his own team? Why is he being left alone? I saw it in a couple of games today. What is the problem here from a Manchester United defensive perspective where they're not learning how to defend set plays and they're basically leaving their goalkeeper all alone to deal with it himself?
Yeah, and I think that's what Ruben Amorim is looking for, because in order, once you hit the bottom and Manchester United are there, I mean, we're looking at Manchester City, who's got so much talent. Look where they are. It can turn very, very quickly, and it's systematic, right? It doesn't just happen overnight, right? So, rightfully so, Mark, you go into the set pieces and corners because that's been a big issue for Manchester United, but that's part of that big issue: the attention to every detail, every player wanting to, making sure that you get the little details done. And I just think that's been kind of brushed under the carpet for a long, long time. And it was easy to look outside. Obviously, the hierarchy didn't help themselves in terms of what's happening around. They're trying to fix that. I believe that they are going in the right direction. And it's now just a question of time, because, when you look at Ruben Amorim, when you go on the warpath, if you will, because that's exactly what you did, right? Ten Hag did it with Ronaldo. It worked for half a season, or that season they came in, and it fell apart. It can very much happen here. So now I think you almost have to give him a carte blanche and says, listen, no matter what happens, we're going to see this through. Because as I've said, I mean, I don't know how many people I would keep here, maybe 3 or 4, and that's that. But of course, we know that this is not that easy. It's just not going to happen, and it takes a long time. So that's why I mentioned that standard in between. Is Ruben Amorim good enough to find a way of just maintaining a good enough standard to allow to move some of these players and get others, right? Because as we all know, it's so hard to get good players now to believe in the project. How are you going to believe in that project? Money is one way, I suppose, but these days are done. I mean, you can't just spend frivolously just because you have it, right? So I think that's a bigger and longer project, and I just think that it's too easy for us, in particular, to go after Manchester United, Manchester City after 1 or 2 losses, or Liverpool or Arsenal, because that's going to take a while. It really does. This Manchester United is just a disaster. It's not going to change anytime soon. I don't believe.
And I mean, they've just lost to one of the worst teams in the league, statistically, because they were in the bottom 3 going into this. A team that conceded for fun, didn't have to do much to score against Wolves. Yeah, they've got a new coach, but now Wolves are out of the bottom 3 and closing in on Manchester United, who are now 14th. So bigger picture from Manchester United today. Is it performance? Is it ill discipline? Is it the malaise? What's the headline that you would write if you were the headline writer, not the story writer, but you were the one that was writing the headline for your journalist at the game who's written his match report? What headline would you write today for a Manchester-based paper? Because it should be Wolves that make the headlines today. So the Manchester Evening News, for example, what would be your headline about today and Manchester United losing 2-0 at Wolves, LME?
United shoots itself in the foot as Wolves win comfortably. And that's it. It's a self-inflicted wound today. There's many issues, but if we're talking about today, the Bruno Fernandes sending off was not necessary. To your point about the set piece situations, once again, it's not like this is an anomaly. That happened in the past, right? So those are two things that United themselves can fix. Bruno Fernandes did not need to send himself off. Andre Onana and his defenders can do better defending corners. So these are things that could have been fixed today. So to me, it's about the self-inflicted wounds. And the problem is like these self-inflicted wounds continue to happen time and time again. And also there's no consistency, right? Like beating Manchester City in the derby, fantastic. Then what happens? Then you lose straight after that one more time in the Carabao Cup and you lose against Wolves. So there's no lineage here of trying to get any kind of consistency. Ruben Amorim, as Janusz said, is right. He's trying to do the right things. He's right. It's going to take a lot of time. Today, it was just a great microscopic look about the overall outcome of how United look at matches. Self-inflicted wounds, they don't do enough to rectify, and they lose over and over and over again.
Bruno Fernandes, 3 red cards this season, having only had 2 previously in his career, and that was against with Sporting and with Udinese, and they haven't had a player with 3 red cards in one season since Nemanja Vidic in 2008. Let's wrap this up by looking ahead into our crystal balls, you two. Manchester United, I'm not going to even do an over-under 14th right now at the end of 2025, right? Because if it's not over, then the place is burning down. And if you think they've got problems now, then just you wait for the next 12 months. But realistically, Janusz, you've been preaching patience. And I totally get that. There ain't a quick fix to this. Amorim is a start, but it's going to take him time as well. So what do you think? I'll give you Man United to start with. What do you think 2025 has in store for Manchester United, Janusz, by looking into your crystal ball?
It seems to be more headaches. I'm looking at, as you speak, I'm looking at this team that came out. I'm looking at the squad. I know there's a couple of players injured that maybe, Mason Mount. I mean, he came back. It seems like Amorim likes him, but injured again. So who knows? There's just not enough quality, even in this system. I mean, Rashford, we all knew, doesn't fit in that system in a wide area. He just doesn't, right? Garnacho, I've questioned that. He's got mobility, he's fast, so you think that he's going to be able to police that left-hand side, but I don't think that's in him. I don't think that's his strength as well. Dalot does a decent job, but that's not your answer. On the other side, Mazraoui, fair play. Is he the sort of savior? I don't know. No matter where even today, Ugarte, who did a pretty decent job statistically, but still it just makes you wonder, was there a PSG piece of the puzzle? Maybe, but I don't know if I build around him. Mainu, again, young. No matter where you go here, just looking at the back three, which you don't really know what the best back three is or will be, I just think that this is a situation of maybe, a little bit like Arsenal, where you suffer for a couple of seasons outside of the top 6. And you just hope that Ruben Amorim can convince and pick out players that will change this team. And as we all know, that's going to take time. It's not going to happen. I don't even want to say overnight, but I really worry about it. But I think it's the only way to go, to be patient, stay with him, and forget about Manchester United. Forget about Manchester United at all in terms of challenge of title. I'm careful a little bit because Chelsea kind of turned things around, but that was the bottom, wasn't it? We just didn't know it. Just clean everything, young guys. We're looking at these players coming in. Some of them we really didn't know about too much. Really deeply enough how good they truly are because they were young and coming in. But it's a one-off. And by the way, we still have to wait for Chelsea to get it done. But I just don't think that we're going to see Manchester United in top 4 for a couple of seasons.
Okay, LME, for 2025 and for Manchester United, have you got any shoots of encouragement you can give to the fans of the Red Devils?
You're not getting relegated. I guess that's the only thing I got to say. I look at this table, and there's nobody above them right now that are better, are there? That are worse, sorry. United, anybody above them are not worse. Like West Ham, there's a conversation. After that, at this very moment, every club above Manchester United is better. So, they're not getting relegated, but they're not going anywhere right now. And Janusz is right. It's going to take so much longer. Marcus Rashford, by the way, that's going to be a tricky one to even try and get rid of because of his wages, because of the fees. So a loan is possibly something. So who are you going to bring in, by the way, that wants to come to a club like this, by the way, that's going to demand a lot. So it's going to be tricky. So I agree. There needs to be patience, obviously. I think Ruben Amorim is a fine manager, but it's going to take time. But at this very moment in 2025, they are top 4. They're not even getting top 10. Like, they're staying exactly where they are.
They'll get to top 10. I just think the problem is.
Are you kidding me? You're talking about Chelsea. You're talking about Chelsea last season. At least they got Conference League. Yeah. There's no way United are getting that. Are you telling? You're telling? Wait, hold up, Janusz. You're seriously telling me that United better than Brighton?
No. But I mean, you said
no. So that's it. No. Are they better than Villa? No. Are they better than Fulham? No. Are they better than the City with all the issues? No. Are they better than Bournemouth? No, they're not going to get that. I just don't see it happening.
But I just thought that you said that they're not going to be in the top 10, right? They're not going to be in top 10 in the next 2 seasons. So I'll argue that.
No, I said this next, like the end of this season. Yeah. No, maybe next season. Yeah, maybe next season they can improve. Yeah, absolutely. I think next season is different because Ruben Amorim will have a summer. He'll maybe there'll be more of a focal point, more strength coming in the preseason. Absolutely. Next season, we don't know that. I'm saying this season,
difficulty for any club is that you see that these teams, there's no, you can't change your team in such a way that you can go on these runs that we've seen Manchester City and maybe Liverpool go, where you're going to win 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight. I don't think that's going to happen because the financial fair play, yes, you can spend money, but so is everybody else. And oh, by the way, they're all doing it, right? Because in the past, you wouldn't see the Brightons and Bournemouths and all the other smaller clubs, if you will, that spend that sort of money. But they're already at a good level, and they're not afraid to add a couple players for 40, 50, 60 million pounds as well. So that's the issue. And one of the few leagues where the entire league has the money, and you have some talented managers as well who are taking advantage of this and showing different way of playing. So that's an issue for clubs like United because we just assume that it is Manchester United. They're going to come out, they have new ownership, they're changing things, they're going to spend money to get where they need to get. We even see it for Manchester City that's not enough anymore. So that's the issue that I see for Manchester United, not only for them. You fall out of that, you get yourself in a mess like this. In the past, you could get yourself out within 1 window, maybe 2 at most. Can't do it anymore.
The one thing they needed to be today, and weren't Manchester United, was hungry, like the Wolves. 2-0 at Molineux. Bye for now.